Hello, it's Friday, February 21st, and I am in Lajitas, Texas, and I'm having dinner with the mayor of Lajitas, Clay Henry. Clay, how you doing tonight? Yeah, and he really is the mayor. And I'm going to do a 2-night, 3-day backpacking trip on Mesa de Anguila, which is that big hill right in front of us. And the trail starts on the Lajitas Golf Resort, but then you hike across into the boundary of Big Bend National Park. So we'll be in Big Bend National Park, and if you look right atop that big white house, there's a canyon there, and that's the access trail, and that's the mesa. This is the western edge of the mesa, but we're going to climb up there tonight. It's about 5:30 already, so we're going to go find our first decent campsite and grab it, and that's where we'll spend the night tonight. But thought I'd come over here and say hi to the mayor, since you know we're close friends. The trail actually starts on the Lajitas Golf Resort, and about 100 yards from the park boundaries, or actually about a quarter of a mile to the park boundary. But we'll be walking out this way and then cutting back up that way, and we'll be crossing the boundary into the national park here in about a quarter mile. And you can see one of the flags there, so we'll actually be walking part of the way on a golf course. So I'm hoping to make 2 to 3 miles before it gets dark and then make camp. And I've got 2 nights and 3 days planned, but today's the first day, it's only a couple hours before sunset. So just going to try to go about 3 miles and then find the first decent place to camp. So somewhere right in here we cross into the park. So we just cross the park boundary. There's no fence or anything designating it, but there is a trailhead sign right up here. It's been cold here the last few days, below freezing, and tonight the expected low is going to be, I've seen 2 different ones, 31 or 39, and then the high today of 50, but it's already reached that. Now it's dropping. Tomorrow the high should be 65, 70. Sunday the high is expected to be in 85. Temperature tomorrow night, the low should be around 45. So tonight's going to be the coldest night, and maybe a little chilly. So this is called Mesa de Anguila, and like a lot of the other places in the Big Bend region, no one remembers how it got its name, and it seems to be misnamed, but we'll talk about that more later. Now I'm gonna just keep pushing, try to get up on top of it. About a 600-foot climb, because the sun is getting pretty low. So hopefully we make it to the top before the sun completely sets. I'd like to set up camp in the light if I can avoid doing it in the dark. I think I'm a little over halfway up this first climb, and I can see all the way back to the parking lot. See, my truck is the only car there. All right, well, here's going to be our first look over the mesa. Oh, that's cool. Oh, let's look back. So Looks like we're going to drop quite a bit, and then as we go across the mesa, we're going to go up and down all those little draws, but it's going to be a climb all the way to there, all to the tops out there. And then that mountain on the right is called Mariposa, and it's about halfway across. So the mesa is about 12 miles long, and that's probably about 5 miles across. And the trail we're on is called the Mesa de Anguila Trail, and it goes to the left of Mariposa and then doesn't go past that tall mountain on the left. That's called Canyon Flag. It actually turns just this side of that and goes all the way to the north edge of the mesa, and then you can make it down and go back to Lajitas from there. There's also a trail that turns right in front of Mariposa and goes down towards the Rio Grande River, which is over to the right, and then turns back west and comes back towards us, and eventually works its way all the way down to the river. And I think a lot of people do that as an overnight. But our trail, we're going to stay on this trail and go just past Mariposa, and then there's a third trail called the Entrance Camp Trail, and it turns down, goes all the way down to the river just the other side of Mariposa, and that's where we're headed tomorrow. We can go here and look off this edge. Well, the sun is about to set, so I'm going to have to hurry and find a place to camp. You can see the river down there. There's not much water in it. There's a little bit of water here. But I'm going to get a move on and see if I can find a place to camp before it gets too dark. Well, I don't see any place better, so this may be my campsite for the night. Looks like someone's camped here before, and that's what the ranger told me to do, was find a place that had already been trampled down. The sun is set, but I'm going to make camp, and it's about 10 till 7, 6:50. It's a beautiful night. See the quarter moon up there. It's about 5 in the morning. The wind finally quit blowing. It pretty much blew all night. But then about 5 o'clock it just stopped. Completely still out here now. Well, the sun's coming up. Oh, that is Mexico. Just having some breakfast, breaking down camp. Gonna get started on the trail. Got a thorn in my shoe. 2 of them somewhere. I also got one in my air mattress because it went flat last night. And I aired it up and it went flat again. But I may cut the trip short tonight, so I can't get that air mattress fixed. It's about 41 degrees and a little windy. It's got a little bit of a chill. It's just right at the temperature where you're going in and out of the sun. So you go in the shade and your hands get cold, and you get cold, you go in the sun, you start sweating. Keep going up and down in these washes, and you can see where the water's carved out big holes. That's pretty amazing how much force water must have. They're just all along here. Well, we're getting pretty close to Mariposa, and I think Mariposa means butterfly. So I don't know, that mountain's kind of divided in half. Both sides look kind of the same, so maybe it looks like a butterfly. So the Rio Grande River cuts through this mesa, and that's what forms Santa Elena Canyon. And if you take this trail all the way across, I think it ends up here, turns and goes north, but you can continue on off trail and you can make it to the overlook. You can make it to the cliff where you're overlooking the Santa Elena exit. There's in the park, there's a nature trail there. It's a really popular day hike and really worth it if you're ever over there. But you can actually get to that point and look off. I'm not going to make it this trip. My goal is we're just going to pass this Maricopa and turn down behind it and go down all the way, and possibly all the way to the river, but definitely to the canyon rim. And I've floated this canyon several times, so the Santa Elena Canyon, so I've always wanted to look down on it from the rim. So I said this was called Mesa de Anguila, and Anguila translates to the eel, or eel. So Anguila is a Spanish word, and in English it means eel. So this mesa means table, so this is the eel table, which doesn't make a lot of sense. So they're not sure if that's really what it was or what it was supposed to be. There's several theories to how it got its name, and the one I like, and it's in the park brochure as a potential source, is that there used to be a Comanche that lived on this hill, on this mesa, one of the last Comanches in the state of Texas, in fact, and his name was Angulo. He lived in a cave up here, and they called it Angulo's Cave. And then this also Angulo's Mesa. So there's a thought that over time Angulo got misspelled or mistranslated to Anguilla, and so instead of Angulo's Mesa it became the Eel Mesa. But that's kind of the story I like. The other story is that the Spanish word for eagle is aguila without the N, and so this may have been the Eagle Mesa, and at some point in time somebody misspelled it and that stuck, and so it went from Aguila to Anguilla, which went from eagle to eel. So it could have been the Eagle Mesa if there was ever eagles here. And then the third story, which probably the least likely, is that Anguilla is actually a misspelling of the English word angel, and that this was actually the Angel Mesa at one time. But I guess you pick your own, because nobody really knows. But I kind of like the Comanche story, but it's still called Mesa de Anguila, so it's the eel table. Well, we're right up to that Mariposa now, and fixing to drop down into this big wash. And this part of the mesa is divided into like 3 shelves, and we're on the highest shelf. And just to our right, maybe a couple hundred yards, is pretty much a cliff, 150, 200 foot drop, and the water that comes down this draw goes over that cliff and then digs a big hole at the bottom, and it's called the Tinaja. And it's a lot of times you can find water there in the desert. It'll be in a Tinaja, and that one is called Tinaja Rana. Here's a picture of it, but I don't think there's any water in it right now because everything's pretty dry here. All right, the last drop down to the foot of Mariposa. So we should be coming up on that first trail junction of the trail, that the Mesa de Anguila West Trail. Should just be right up here, but if you look across there in that saddle, you can see our trail going up and over that saddle. And here's the first trail junction. So to the right and dropping off that edge is the Mesa de Anguila West Trail. Those hills over in Mexico look pretty cool. And you can see it drops pretty quick, so that's where that Tinaja Rana is just right down there around the corner. There's the Mariposa up close, the moon above it. And our trail's gonna go up and go up this little saddle here. Cool red rock wall here. Okay, we're at the top of the saddle. So the Mesa de Anguila Trail keeps on going this way, and it stays on the upper level of the mesa, and it's going to go right towards that tall point right there and then turn left just this side of it, and it goes to the north side of the mesa. But you can continue on and make it all the way to the east edge of the mesa. Our trail's right here. This is called the entrance camp trail, because it goes all the way down to the entrance to Santa Elena Canyon. It actually makes it to the river. And a lot of people camp there. When they would float the river, that's where they'd camp. But right here you can see a good example of how the mesa's in different layers, different shelves. So we're on the upper one, and we're fixing to drop down this 200 feet or so. And this is one of the few places you can do it on this Mariposa mountain. You can go down the back side or the front side of it to get between the two layers. Cool rock. I don't know if that's iron or something on there, or just different type of rock. Still making our way down to the foot of this Mariposa, climbing down the back side of it. There's another one of those Tinajas just right here. It's called Tinaja Blanca. There's actually a YouTube video if you just do a search for rappelling Tinaja Blanca, and these guys actually came, hiked to there, hiked down into that, and then rappelled down from the top all the way down to the bottom. It's pretty interesting. There was water in it then, and then they hiked up this way to get back out. So once we get down on this next level, the mid-level, we'll have to go about a mile or so, and then it'll drop at another cliff, about another 150, 200 foot drop. And that'll get us down to the third layer, which is the layer the river cut through to form the canyon. This trail's pretty rocky and tough. According to my GPS, I've come 6 miles. And I believe this entrance camp trail is 2.6 all the way to the river. I'm not going to the river, I don't think. I'm going to turn just before we go down that last drop and stay up on the canyon rim. There's that Tinaja Blanca. You see how the water just cuts a notch out of that cliff wall. and drops down and then digs a little hole at the bottom. And can't see down in it. I doubt if there's any water. There could be. That's a pretty sheer cliff. We're in the wash coming out of that Tinaja Blanca. You can see it pretty much washes all the topsoil off, just leaves solid rock. I believe that's a coleanth fossil. Or just a round rock, but I think it's one. Right in the middle of the trail. A while ago I scared up a covey of quail, and like always, man, they are loud when they take off. Just stops your heart. Boy, if you don't move, it's just quiet. Well, this is a cool view. So tell we're dropping, this is transitioning from the middle shelf down to the lower shelf. You can see our trail crossing over there, but if you look left, there's our first view of Santa Elena Canyon, and you can see the entrance right there. That is a pretty cool shot. Hopefully we can get down there and walk along the edge a little bit. And there's a good view looking east. You can see the cliff face on the left and the Santa Elena Canyon on the right. Here in the middle, and Mexico on the right. Here's our first look at the Rio Grande, and there's a little water in there. There's a sign. I have no idea what that's saying. Oh, I think it's saying, well, the trail's going that way. I can see it now. Why is it here? I guess maybe that was their trail down that I came across. Well, there's the cairns over there. I don't know, this sign's in a weird location. Well, there's a junction, so to the right I believe is the trail down to the river, and we may come back to here and do that, but I really want to get on top of the rim and look down into the canyon, so I'm hoping this is the trail to do that. So I've made it. So there's the river down there, and that is the entrance to Santa Elena Canyon. There's a little flow there, but nothing you could canoe or raft. But this is the entrance to the canyon. Right here is where Santa Elena Canyon starts. And then it runs for 6 miles till it exits. And there are places in here where it used to be wall-to-wall water, and the cliff walls were 1,500 feet. Too cool. I think I trust that one. sad that the river's mostly dry, but I thought it would be fun to walk along the canyon rim for the entire 6 miles of the canyon. Problem is there's a lot of cross canyons. You can see one there. And to get around that, you have to go a 1/4 mile away from the rim, cross it, and then come a 1/4 mile back. So you'd go 1/2 mile to gain that 100 yards or so. And there are dozens of those, and one of them is probably a mile. You'd have to go a mile away from the canyon to where you could find a place to cross it. So when I mapped it on Onyx, the 6 mile turned into a 12-mile hike. So you could do it, but you'd have to go 12 miles and only gain 6 miles of real distance. There's a tire down there in the river. It's not going to show it, but it's down there. Anyway, I won't be walking too far along the rim. Go as far as I can. Maybe you can see that tire. So here's that cross canyon I was talking about. So water comes down and cuts through, and then there's Santa Elena Canyon. So they're saying if you wanted to walk along the rim, when you come to these, I mean, you got to walk this one. You got to walk at least a 1/4 mile away from the river, turn, and then come back to the river a 1/4 mile. So 1/2 mile just to cover that distance there. And like I say, this is not the shortest one, but it's not by far the longest one either. So I think I've reached my turnaround point. This canyon here actually went all the way across. But I've reached my turnaround point. It's right at 12 o'clock. I'm going to make my way back to the entrance down there and have lunch. And then probably start the hike out. I had planned to spend another night, but my air mattress is going to convince me to try and hike out of here if I can. If I can't, I can spend another night, no problem. I have a permit and plenty of water, food, but air mattress, I don't really want to battle that. I don't sleep great anyway in a air mattress, but when it's going flat every hour or so, it's just not a lot of fun. So but I've canoed this canyon and rafted it at least 4 times, maybe 5. Floated it 5 times. And I'd always wanted to come stand on the rim and look down in it. So another goal I can check off my list, but this is pretty amazing. Amazing that the water just cut down through there. So the geography of this place, from what I'm told, is the river was here and the rocks rose under it. And so as the rock lifted, the river cut through it. So I want to float it again, take my sons down it, but every time we've tried, it's been too low. So maybe we'll get to do it someday. I think you could hike it now easier than you could float it. Maybe a pack raft might be the way to do it. Sure is pretty. This sight not many people see from here. I think that's just cool that it just starts right there. There's just nothing and then a big rock wall. That's too cool. And there's a creek that comes in from the Mexican side just right there. Actually, I think that's right there. And I know that's where we would always camp. And put in Lajitas canoe to there, camp, and then get up and do the rest of the canyon in a day, because you'd spend more time playing around in the canyon, stopping at those side canyons. Well, it's 10 after 12, so I'm going to have a quick lunch and then start the walk back out, and I probably will make it all the way out tonight. I could spend another night again, but probably not going to do it. There's a fancy rock cairn. The layers on that rock are so cool. We'll climb back up to the top shelf of the mesa. We're going to just drop down. You can see the trail down there we're going to hit. I think from right here we're just a little tad over 5 miles back to the trailhead. It's 2:30. We may be out of here by 5, I don't know. But you can see this is higher than where we're at now. And that's the high point for the trip. We got to climb up there on our way back across, and then from there we'll drop pretty much all the way down to the junction with the west trail, which keeps going straight, and our trail turns to the right and heads back across. I was kind of in this area where I was thinking about camping tonight. There's some good flat spots off out there. It's far enough from the trail, but it's only 3 o'clock, so I'm probably 2 hours earlier than I thought I would be. So there's a little store in Lajitas that makes the best hamburgers in the world. So I think I'm gonna go there and get one of those. So probably a couple hours and I should be back at the car. Boy, that country out there is really like the way that looks. Really cool looking, but it looks rugged. This trail is very rugged. And people do this trail, but I don't think a lot of people come across this trail. And I've read where most people will do it as a day hike, and they'll come up that canyon in front of us and then turn and go up on that ridge and look off, and that's pretty much as far as they come, and they just turn and go right back down. And I'll see how I feel when I get over there. I may walk up on that ridge and look off a little bit. I'm gonna have time. It's 3:30 right now. All right, I'm at the top. Fixing to start down. One last look across the mesa. Again, that is a rugged trail, but I will say it's a good trail. It's cut in well, and there was a ton of cairns. I never once felt like I was gonna lose the trail, so it's just rugged, rocky. But here's a side trail that's gonna go up that ridge. I'm gonna give that a try and see what we see up there. Alright, here we're starting down the canyon. Well, there's a shot of the trailhead, and I can see my truck still, the only one there. Looks all lonely. There's the big cairn at the bottom, so we are just about to step off the mesa back down into the desert. Well, there it is. We just came down all that, and that was Mesa de Anguila. And I didn't see any eels. We're walking back to the trailhead. So, trip was 17.5 miles total with a 2,800 foot of elevation gain and loss. So, but I'll be glad to sit down. My feet are killing me. Those are just some rocky, rugged trails. But it's worth it. It was a fun trip. Thanks for watching. Alright, so that is the Texas Heat. Jalapeno cheddar bun with chipotle, aioli, pepper jack, fresh jalapeno, lettuce, onion, and a drizzle of sriracha sauce. You can also get it with tomato and avocado, but I didn't. And that is the best hamburger I've ever had.